Launched in September, the One Roar Fund will serve as a vehicle to help all 31 of Columbia's varsity athletics programs and club sports to compete at the highest level. We remain committed to providing our student athletes with the best resources available to help them achieve their goals. Although competition has been postponed, the competitive fire within our student athletes still burns as they await the call to return to athletic events. One Roar will provide our 700-plus student athletes with the necessary resources to stay in prime shape, mentally sharp, and above all, healthy and safe, as we await the continuation of Ivy League play. Together, we roar as one.
Welcome back to Conversations with the Staff. This is episode 9, and tonight we're joined with 3 of our off-the-field staff members. We have Jake Corbett, who's been the Assistant Athletic Director for Equipment Operations at Columbia since 2013. He came to us from South Carolina, where he started as a student assistant in the equipment room and worked his way up and joined us in 2013. We have Coach Bob Gilmartin. Bob's in his 7th year at Columbia as our Director of Sports Performance for football. And he has previously served at University of Rutgers and also the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And last and certainly not least, we have Jim Gossett. Jim, first of all, congratulations. I know you announced that you're retiring later this year, but I think it's really important for our alums to know what your role is about, but also just give you a little love. So Jim's been with Columbia for the last 42 years. He is one of the best known, highly honored athletic trainers in the nation, and he oversees all of athletics, and we are fortunate enough to have him as our head athletic trainer for the football team. Guys, welcome, and thank you for sitting down with the alums tonight. All right, let's go straight to question 1. For those who may not know, we'll start with Jake. Jake, can you explain your role to our alumni a little bit, what you do for the football team on a day-to-day basis, and what are some of your favorite aspects of your job?
Sure, absolutely. First off, I don't, just so for everyone kind of understands, I'm not necessarily just with football. I oversee all the ordering, inventorying for athletic gear for all of our athletes here at Columbia. I have 2 assistants here. They do a great job for me. I have one that's down on campus and one here that works directly with me and the outdoor sports. My job primarily with football is to make sure that our athletes have everything they need for practice, games, where we're on the road, that our locker room is set up. Everything is ready to go for when the team arrives. And then after the game is over, making sure everything gets back here to Columbia so we can be prepared for the next week. As far as practices go, myself and my assistant, Dan Iglesias, we set up all the practice here for us field setup with our coaches. We meet with them to see what they need. As far as, again, for practice, we make sure that everything is brought out, is put out. And then we assist with drills as far as, if they need us to spot the ball or, anything from that aspect. We do basically anything our coaches can, need us to do to help to make sure practice runs smoothly. But that's kind of our gist for football of what we do here. Again, this is making sure that our athletes have everything they need for practice, games, it gets there, gets back.
And you do a great job at that, Jake. Bob, why don't we go to you next? What do you do for the football team on a day-to-day basis, and what are some of your favorite aspects of the job?
I guess I'll give you the recruiting version of it. The job is threefold. It's we're here to help improve performance. Second, we're trying here to prevent injury, and then also make them physically and mentally tougher. It's obviously a year-round job, so day to day, week to week, and month to month. It's a never-ending task. Best thing about the job is the kids. It's such an amazing time training them. And obviously this past year has been a little bit rough not having all of them around, but it definitely, the reason why I'm here and the reason why I stay here is the kids. I really love training them. It's a highlight of my job for sure.
Awesome. And Jim, last but certainly not least again, what does the head athletic trainer do for the football team?
Thanks, Greg, and thanks for everybody joining us for this broadcast. We're part of the team. We're team players. We're the ones behind the scenes. In many aspects, we're the entry point and the exit point for our players in the program. Over the years, it's been just a wonderful experience to see these players develop and then move on into professional lives, whether it's continuing in sports or into other fields. But it is an amazing responsibility for myself and my staff in order to provide all the needs that the football team has. Again, it's not always about injuries. It's also about supporting them and watching their development. I work so closely with Bob and the strength and conditioning staff. I feel it's a blend. They're in a system, they come out, they're in my system for a while, and then they return to their activities. But again, it's one of those things. There's so many multi-facets to what we have to do in order to support these players. And, to have Jake and everyone else pitching in to get this show on the road when we go to away games, the fact that we're coordinating care, both from medical services on campus to those at our medical center. We have outstanding physicians, our head team physicians, the chairman of orthopedics at Columbia. Our primary care sports physician was a gymnast at a Power 5 school. It's a team approach to making sure that we can be as comprehensive and detailed with all these student athletes as we can. And like I said, over the years, it's just been a joy to watch them develop and move on. And I thank all those alums that have actually come back to me and said thanks and wish me well in my next chapter of the life. So that's about it, Greg.
That was perfect. I couldn't have explained it better than you did. Obviously, we'll stick with you, Jim, and you have a couple decades of experience with New York City and Columbia under your belt. But what are some things about New York or Columbia that amaze you? I'll ask the other guys a little different question because they haven't been in New York City quite as long or with Columbia quite as long, but what are some things that stand out to you about New York and Columbia?
Well, it's just such a vibrant atmosphere. I mean, it's a world capital city. The diversity here is amazing. I always go back to the fact that, if I was in training, whether it was for medicine or in business, any of those aspects, you're going to see so much here as compared to other places throughout the U.S. So, I just feel that there's so much energy and resources. It's the resources that are amazing, that you can find anything you want to some degree here. So that makes life actually easier for many of us. And the city in general has improved so much over the last 3 decades that, it's in a marvelous place right now, I think, as far as how things have stabilized. The university's growing. We're moving into a new campus just north of the Morningside location. To watch those buildings come up is truly, it's magical.
Awesome. Jake, you have one extra year over Bob, so we'll turn it to you. And you're coming from South Carolina. What are some things about New York City and Columbia that have surprised you since your time here?
Well, just a little background. I'm definitely obviously here in New York City now. Before that, I grew up in a town that had literally one stoplight, and that was so we could be put on a map. So it was kind of a huge transition, coming from a place like that. I was in Columbia, South Carolina, almost 8 years before I got here. So it wasn't that big of a transition, but when you're in a place like that, it always amazes you of what, New York City has to offer. I always say, whatever you're looking for, you can find it, here in the city. And I really enjoy that aspect. And honestly, I've been here almost 8.5 years now. And I still feel like I'm kind of a tourist sometimes. I like to do all that kind of stuff that, you hear from people from all over the world that come here to do. I still enjoy that kind of stuff too. But again, for me, the big thing I enjoy in the city, honestly, the Museum of Natural History, I think it's awesome. If that's the one thing, if I, don't mind doing over and over again, to me, that place, you always find something new in there that you didn't see the first time.
You can get lost in there pretty easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bob, we'll finish this question up with you. Anything about Columbia or New York that surprised you in your time here?
I think kind of echo both of them. I think you can make the city as big or as small as you want it. So to Jake's point, there's so much to see and do. And whether you go down to the Intrepid Museum or you go down to One World Trade or you're at the museum, which I've been to several times, the same as Jake, it doesn't matter whether it's food or if it's a nightlife or sporting events. The choices are unlimited. But yet you can also make the city small. And so we live in the Riverdale section of the Bronx. It's a beautiful, quiet neighborhood that, we have a neighborhood grocery store, a neighborhood coffee shop, a neighborhood a diner I go to. So you choose about what you want. And I think that's probably one of the most, to me, one of the most enticing things about the city.
Well, you mentioned food a couple times, so we'll stick with you, Bob, on this next question. And it's been a journey to figure out what our staff likes to eat and their favorite places in the city. But what are your favorite places to eat in New York?
Well, primarily, I think anyone that knows me knows I'm a diner person. I love diners. However, a good friend of mine took me to a restaurant in the city, in the West Village, and it's called Pizza Loves Emily. And I'm telling you, without a doubt, that it is the best hamburger I've ever had in my life. And if anyone gets a chance, and I think they have a place in Brooklyn, but it's called Pizza Loves Emily. Fantastic. The burger's out of this world, next level. And the pizza's pretty damn good too. So by far, I'm a big burger guy.
That's a new one. I'll have to add that to my list. Jake, we'll go to you next. I know you get around the city quite a bit. You have a few favorite places to eat?
Well, it depends on what I'm looking for. If I want a high-end meal, I love quality meats. Again, that place is top-notch steak. To me, though, the best thing on their menu there, they have a bacon appetizer. It is amazing. If you're into meats and that kind of stuff, quality meats is it. And it's on West 58th, kind of near Central Park. As far as barbecue wise, I haven't really found a great place in New York City, but for the record, coming from the South, there are pretty decent places. I'll never say it's on par of what you can get down South, but there are some pretty good places. Mighty McWinn's, I think, is pretty good. It's kind of chainy, but there's one on the east side and the west side. But I think their sides again. To me, barbecue-wise, what makes a barbecue is their sides. And Mighty McWinn's has amazing sides. But that place is decent. Dinosaur Barbecue's pretty close up to here near campus. It's actually not bad either.
Not bad.
But as far as restaurants-wise, I enjoy that. Again, if I'm going for a drink or somewhere up here, I live in Inwood where our outdoor sports facility is. I think we have two of the nicer bars if you just want to go watch a game or, again, just have a drink up here in Tryon Public House and Tubby Hook. But they're amazing.
Jake, I think you should probably do a master class for the staff on barbecue this summer.
I think, well, I mean, we got the facility up here to do it. We got the open space. We just need to get a grill.
Jim, the New York City veteran, do you have a list of favorite places to eat in New York?
Yeah, I mean, the one good thing about me is there's no food I don't like. And I've tried a lot of different things, growing up in Indianapolis and then coming here from Arizona, that you had some limited selections, but here, I never thought of Ethiopian food or some other things that it's here. So from a steak standpoint, my go-to is Gallagher's down the Theater District. I've always loved that place. I love the way they do the dry-aged steaks. They're all lined up in the window. But as was said earlier about how this can be a big town or a small town, it's amazing how many times I'll just walk into a place blindly, like Old Homestead, a steakhouse down in the meatpacking district, and I'll be sitting there talking to a friend, and then I'll look to the right, and then, well, there's Jonathan Reese sitting right next to me. It is a small town, especially for those of us that live here, as compared to those that are just transient coming in and out. But I love Chinese food. So there's Wo Hop's 24-hour Chinese place in Chinatown. Great. I know it's great because that's where all the cops eat at night. It's right down in the court section, kind of the halls of justice area, just minutes away from Chinatown. So it's a great place. I like the places that were up around Columbia at one point. There's been a lot of change, but again, the West End was a go-to place. They had a lot of fun things going on there for decades. It's gone, but again, you name it, it's here. If you love food, you can find the best of the best, or you can always get a dirty water dog on the corner anytime you want.
Got all the bases covered. I love it. So, we'll go back to Jake. Jake, do you have any favorite Columbia football memories, one or two that just stand out at the top of your head?
I have a couple. Again, for me, I was started here in 2013, and obviously that didn't really turn out the season-wise. So as the season after that, 2015, we kind of had a changeover in staff. I was really grateful to be kept on to work, with them. And honestly, the 2015 season, if you look back on, it was so amazing to see our guys, they see a culture change as far as believing in that, hey, we can do this thing. And we were in a lot of games that year. Obviously, we didn't win a lot, but we were right there, in basically every game we played that year. And it was just great to see them, see that what they're doing was paying off. And then obviously after that, the whole 2017 season, it was amazing, but a game in particular, I think that just kind of gets forgotten was our first conference game was when we played Princeton. We had 3 goal line stands in that game. And then the way the game kind of ended with that amazing touchdown, for Ron Smith scored, it's that whole season to me, from coming up here, being in a place like South Carolina where we really hadn't done much either, in the past, and we kind of built our way up. You can see that, again, going back to 2015, that's kind of way the staff was working, everyone was coming together where we were building something, we weren't going in the opposite direction. We were finally moving forward towards hopefully a championship down the road. So that to me, in the 2015 season, getting, the guys starting to believe that something could happen here.
Yeah. Awesome. Bob, you get in the weight room and you're in a unique spot where you get to see the team pretty much year round because you're training them in the off season in the weight room 3 or 4 times a week. And then obviously we have the season. So do you have any favorite Columbia football memories from the football field or the weight room?
I'm going to I mean, I think I'll echo Jake a bit. I'm with him on that 15 season. Because obviously I was here in 14, we didn't win a game. And just how difficult things were. And then there was a change, and just how hard they fought in 15. I think that's underrated. For just like Jake said, how many games we were in that year. I think everyone needs to remember that. The 17 season, when we beating Penn in overtime and everyone rushing the field. I mean, a memory like that is, I've been on a rushed field before, and it's just a real great feeling. And then finally sticking it to Harvard. I think finally sticking it to Harvard was a high point for me.
Awesome. And Jim, you got a few years more than these guys, but do you have any favorite memories from Columbia football?
Oh yeah, there's quite a few, and I guess I've sort of adapted my approach to appreciation of sports and personnel and teams. But I'm fairly consistent as to which teams I really don't like, and Princeton is at the top of that list. But with that said, I really applaud performance. The fact that we were in a game at Princeton, it was a night game, it was terrible weather, and it came down to the very last play where we threw a Hail Mary into the end zone, and at least 12 hands go up in the air. You can't see who's who, and we came down with it to win the game at the buzzer. I mean, to me, that was amazing. And I like I said, we beat Princeton, so I have a real joy for that. But again, there's been so many great players each decade that stand out in my mind that have given so much, and with the cliche of them bleeding blue, they're the ones that constantly come to my mind. And if I see them in the stands or I see them from afar at the tailgates, I know that they're with us on the field as much as everybody on the field is trying to make sure that we succeed.
Great. Bob, we're going to start with you. Do you have any special talents or hobbies that the staff may not know about that you'd like to share with our alums?
Yeah. Obviously, so yeah, actually baking. And it's kind of I guess it's a strength coaching kind of story, but obviously during the course of a season, we're going to get guys that are injured, and I'm responsible during practice. I'll come in and take care of the guys that have whatever the injury is. And we also know that in football that guys are always in a calorie deficit. So anything we can do to get them to eat food, we make special shakes here, Greg, you know that, and Jim knows that, and high calorie shakes that they love. But I started baking, and I've been doing it for a long, long time. And one of the main reasons I do it is I'm pretty strict with how I eat myself. And so I was doing it almost as a mind game with myself, where I would bake, hey, a couple dozen cookies and then not have any. So it was almost like a mental toughness thing. And so I'd bring the cookies in. And Greg, you knew this. I'd bring them upstairs. And finally, I brought them in downstairs for the kids one day. And, all the guys in the room got it that were injured. And then it spread amongst a couple of the teams where they were getting it. So I've become very popular with field hockey and softball, because they all know that I bring fresh baked goods. And I think the highlight of the baking is, I don't know if it's the cookies, Greg, or if it's the whoopie pie, I think is the one that they tend to like the most. So yes, baking is a hidden talent.
I think it's definitely the whoopie pie.
I think it goes over real well. I'll tell you that much.
Jake, what about you?
I don't know that I necessarily have any special talents. I will say this much as far as something unique or so about myself. I am a twin. I'm a mirror image twin. I have a twin brother. He's still down in South Carolina. But as far as that, it means like we're basically mirror image means like if you put us in a mirror, we would be the same. But I'm left-handed. He's right-handed. So it's a little crazy. but I don't necessarily have any unique talents. I will say, like, I'm a big softball player, if that's a talent or whatever. I think I'm pretty good. I'm probably not, but
Yeah.
I was definitely putting that down as one of your hobbies for sure. Jim, what about you? You have any hidden talents or hobbies that we don't know about?
Yeah, probably a couple, or you may have seen the tail end of it, at least when you first got here. I'm kind of a car guy. I've kept some cars alive for a long time. I had a Jeep Scrambler that I kept rebuilding for years. So I think it lasted about 15 years, actually, before I got rid of it. I took a 1972 Charger that had lived its entire life on the streets of Brooklyn. And it was basically, do you want it to go to the shredder or would you like to play around with it? So I restored that, all new engine, all new doors, fenders. So that was kind of fun. But my other passion, and again, I've had some success with it, is I'm kind of into photography quite a bit. And now with the advent of all the computerization that you can use, so you not have to mess with film and whatnot, that's been exciting. And I'm kind of getting into droning right now. So that's kind of fun for me. And I can foresee pursuing that a little farther now that I've got some free time on my hands coming up.
Awesome. Well, in typical fashion, though, I've concluded these interviews, giving you guys the last word. So Jake, start with you. Do you have anything to say to our alumni and fans tuned in tonight?
Sure, absolutely. Again, just from what my department does, we make sure all of our athletes have everything they need for games, practices, whatever, to compete in the classroom, and especially on the field. But as far as on the field, I can tell you we're going to have some new looks coming out, not necessarily just for football, but a lot of our sports is going to have a new line of uniforms they'll be wearing this year. So that's kind of exciting for our alumni. We should be more visible as far as from a Columbia standpoint. We are eliminating some colors from our branding guide, so we should be more visible on the field as well.
I love it. The inside info. Bob, you got anything for our fans and alumni?
I think that, after a long trying year, I think it would be comforting for everyone to hear that the guys have been working. Okay, we're in regular contact with them, both Jim and myself and my staff. But the guys are working, even though they're not all here. We're going to get them back, the majority of them, over the summer. So we're really excited about the numbers we're going to have this summer. I mean, I think a lot of the alumni would be shocked as to how many guys are going to be here this summer. The thought right now is we're going to be up somewhere in the 90s sometime in July, and that's exciting. So I want everyone to know at home that everyone's working hard. We've been working hard, and looking forward to this 21 season coming up.
Thank you. And Jim, take it away.
Yeah, I would mirror the same thoughts. I mean, I'm excited, even though I'm not going to be on the field, to see the team this year. They are working hard, I think, and I think they're going to really be lasered in when we get them all here this summer. I'll get to see a portion of that. So again, always looking forward to seeing the guys when they come back to campus. And as far as the alumni, I mean, I've said this a few times over the last week or so that, I still get calls from people that graduated 20 years ago asking me questions and seeking advice. So don't feel that you can't do that. I'm available too many different ways between my phone, email, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. So don't hesitate to ask if you really want to reach out to me. All right. So thanks, everyone. I appreciate the wonderful time that I've had here at Columbia, and I wish everyone the best in the future.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for sitting down with us tonight.
Thanks, Greg.
No problem.
Next week on Conversations with the Staff, we'll sit down with offensive assistant Greg Skold.